Welcome to Co-op Guild. This is Steve with a jump start for SAS Rogue Regiment. This video is meant to be a quick overview of the game. SAS is a stealth-based game where you will be playing as one of many operators to run around the board and try to take out enemy patrols and sentries as you try to complete the mission objective. The player's dashboard will show the weapons and equipment they will have access to, in addition to a spot for keeping track of the supplies for those weapons and equipment like ammo. And finally, on the far right, this will be keep track of their health. Player dashboards also have a space to store any objects they may be carrying. This is usually the enemies that you have taken out and need to move the bodies to a more secure location to avoid being discovered. Line of sight is very important in SAS Rogue Regiment. There are markers that indicate a 45-degree arc that's forward-facing from each enemy and player piece. Anything that falls within the arc, the enemy can potentially see as long as it's within 8 squares. In addition to that, the leftmost space and rightmost space adjacent to the piece, they have peripheral vision. You can see those 2 squares. Now, to help us out in the game, players have a couple different states. They can be standing or crouched to help avoid line of sight. Unfortunately, you may also be in the spotted state, which means enemy knows where you are. And of course, there is a spotted crouch state as well. In this example, this sentry cannot see our operator because he's crouched behind the hedge. There are many instances in this game where crouching in forests or underneath windowsills can help you remain hidden. Another important aspect of SAS Rogue Regiment is the alarm track. Each mission will have a different alarm track with settings for easy, medium, hard on where to place the alarm token. As players make noise, the alarm token will move down the track, and if it ever reaches the end of the track, the alarm is triggered and the battle phase begins. That leads us into the turn structure for SAS Rogue Regiment. The turn structure is dependent on if players are still in the stealth section or the battle section when the alarm is ringing. The difference between these 2 sections is the Axis patrol phase no longer exists when the alarm is ringing because, of course, enemies aren't following patrol paths, they're coming after you. In the operative phase, players will be taking their turns in any order, spending 4 actions. There are many actions you can take in this game, but most of them revolve around moving, attacking, and changing your stance. As an example turn, Jock here could take 4 actions by starting with a move, and then a move and attack to attack this sentry, and have 2 actions remaining. To use a weapon in the game, players will choose a weapon and then find the number of dice printed on that weapon and roll that many dice. The value of the dice on the card is the hit value. So in this example, to use this knife, Jock will need to roll 1 dice and get at least a 1 or higher, which is obviously a success, no matter what we do. Below that, you can see the range of the weapon, a short range, which can give you a bonus to your attack, any noise it makes, and how much ammo you have for that weapon. So in this example, we would successfully eliminate that sentry and replace his token with a corpse token. In this specific example, this enemy, unfortunately, due to his line of sight along the diagonal, had seen the sentry being eliminated. So because he saw that happening, he would flip to his alerted state. Since we were discovered in our action, we must replace our token with the spotted version of our token. In addition to that, any enemies that are alerted to attacks like that will shout, and enemies that are within 4 spaces of the alerted enemy will also become alerted. So this one up top will flip over to its alerted state. We do have a couple more actions to take with Jock, but we're going to skip that for the purposes of this video. And this leads us to the Axis Advance phase. After all players have taken their turns, any alerted enemies will advance towards any spotted operators, any ones they can see. We have 2 enemies to move in this case, and they both move 4 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4 to try to get as close as possible to our operator and with optimal firing distance. And then we move on to the event phase. For the event phase, players will draw the top card of the event deck and resolve either the left side of the card or the right side of the card, depending on if they're in the stealth section or the battle section of the game. In this example, the alarm would advance 1 space forward along the track. There's also space to place this patrol token on the card. It would start the game on the black side, and every other turn it will flip to the white side and again to the black side, alternating turns. And that leads us to phase 4, which is the Axis patrol phase. There are two color patrol paths in the game, a black path and a white path, and there can be multiple paths of patrols in a given map. Since we have the black patrol marker face up, we would move this patrolman 1, 2, 3, 4 along the black path. After all patrols of the proper color have been moved, simply take this token and flip it over as a reminder for next phase that the white patrol will need to move. Before we move on, I'd like to quickly touch on other events you might see in the game. They could be having patrols about face along the patrol path, or sentries turning clockwise or counterclockwise in the direction of the next arrow. Could be spawning enemies onto the Jeep spawn points. I'll show that in a second. And having a cigarette break. This will give you a cigarette token, which you can spend anytime later. And that character will not have any line of sight nor move during that round, as they are taking a smoke break. The spawn points of enemies are indicated by these tiles on the sides of the map. And you would simply take those units, and these are going to be the SMG infantry units, and placing the right number of them on the matching spawn point. There is a white spawn point, and you can see about the white outlines around it, and there's also a black spawn point indicated by black circles. And finally, that leaves us to the Axis attack phase. And this is where any enemies will attack any operators they see. Keep in mind when enemies or operators are attacking, there are lots of modifiers that could affect the dice results, including taking aims, mark targets, if they're behind soft or hard cover. And finally, the end phase. This is where we would remove any corpse token inside of a building or in a forest during the stealth section, and advance the alarm track one space if there are any alert enemies anywhere on the map. This round structure will continue until players can win the game by completing the objectives, or they're all eliminated. I hope you found this useful, and thanks for watching.